So if you want to get into hardcore and don't know where to start, this video is for you. Also, if you already listen to hardcore and just want to judge someone else's hardcore taste, this video is also for you. So I'm basically just going to be giving you my 10 hardcore bands that I think are the ones to be looking out for right now. Let's start. So as far as the ranking, I'm trying to judge the bands on number of followers, consistency, and overall influence on the genre. So at number 10, we got Drain from Santa Cruz, California. These guys have drawn comparisons to Power Trip with their heavy thrash edge. This band has been touring pretty regularly, but the reason that I put them so far at the bottom of the list, they put out their debut in 2020, and since then, they actually signed to Epitaph, but they've only put out one single since. For number 9, I'm going to give it to Inclination from Louisville, Kentucky. Now this band was formed by the guitar player of Knocked Loose, Isaac, and this is one of the heaviest straight edge hardcore bands you are ever going to hear. Now these guys have been putting out music and touring pretty regularly since 2017, which is kind of amazing because, like I said, Isaac is also in Knocked Loose, and he's also putting out music and touring with that band as well. At number 8, we have one of my personal favorites, Higher Power from Leeds, United Kingdom. This band is a hardcore band, yes, but they have a very heavy alternative vibe going on, and a lot of their guitar leads remind me of bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. Now, much like Drain, Higher Power put out their last record in 2020, and they've only put out one single since, but their sound is so huge, I had to rank them higher. Their mainstream debut was produced by Norton, who's produced bands such as Foo Fighters and Pixies. So now we've reached the point in the video where if you do listen to hardcore music and you haven't heard the bands that I'm about to talk about, I'm kind of ashamed of you, but maybe you just haven't been listening to as much hardcore as I have, as long as I have, so I'll try not to judge. So at number 7, we have Terror from Los Angeles, California. This band has been around forever. Their vocalist is what you would call an old head. He was formerly in a band called Buried Alive. And I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Terror. They just put out a new album, but I have to put them on this list solely for their influence on the genre as a whole. Now at number 6, we have Kublai Khan TX. These guys have actually been around since the late 2000s, but they didn't put out their debut album until 2014. And even then, that album was way ahead of its time. Before bands like Knocked Loose and Vayne were like making a huge splash in the hardcore scene, this was some crushing ass hardcore. And I definitely have to mention this band's tendency towards some pretty deep songwriting on issues such as like broken families and abuse. At number 5, we have Incendiary from Long Island, New York. Now this is probably one of the most iconic hardcore bands on the list, and probably the number 1 band right now in the New York hardcore scene. Their vocalist Brendan has a distinct vocal style that has drawn endless comparisons to Zach from Rage Against the Machine. And I would honestly probably rank them a lot higher on this list if they didn't come out with their last album in 2017. At number 4, we have Show Me the Body from New York City. Now this band is definitely one of the most unique hardcore bands of all time because there's only 3 members and the frontman plays a fucking banjo. Yeah, a fucking banjo. And it's fucking sick. This band has a cult-like fan base. I remember when I first heard about them, I seen a video of them playing live in like some art gallery in New York in 2019, and everybody was singing like every single word. Like it was blatantly obvious right off the bat that this band was super, super iconic. At number 3, we have Vayne FM from Boston, Massachusetts. This is one of my favorite bands of all time. They're so fucking heavy, it like hurts. Like every time I listen to them, I want to like fucking punch somebody in the face or like get hit by a car. I feel like the closest thing to compare these guys to would be like earlier Converge, but that really doesn't do them justice because their performances are fucking unhinged. Like this shit sounds like the record's about to fall apart at any moment. It's also worth noting that these guys have recorded their first 2 albums with Will Putney, the most legendary producer right now in the fucking metal and hardcore genre. Like anything this guy touches is gold. So look up Will Putney if you have some spare time, and pretty much any album he's touched is a fucking masterpiece. At number 2, it's Knocked Loose from Louisville, Kentucky. Now this is one of the most prolific and consistent bands in hardcore right now, and like Vayne, they've recorded everything since their debut with the legendary Will Putney. Now Knocked Loose's early stuff has more of a beatdown hardcore sound, but they've been moving away from that into more deathcore territory. And Will Putney himself said that these guys are the best to be doing it right now. That's coming from the most legendary producer in metal right now. And finally, for the #1 band in hardcore to watch right now, that's Turnstile from Baltimore, Maryland. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on this, but let me explain. Not only did Turnstile play Lollapalooza and Coachella, but they recently played on Late Night with Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel Live. They brought hardcore music to mainstream television. Live talk shows on that note. And that's amazing. I don't care what anybody says. Ever since their debut, Turnstile's always had a flair for experimentation in their music, but their newest album definitely has a lot more of that, with some post-punk vibes and even like Latin beats. This band is on Roadrunner Records, and 3 of the members of this band are also simultaneously in a band called Angel Dust, which is also on Roadrunner Records. So some of these guys are working overtime, so to speak. So that's my 10 hardcore bands to look out for right now. If you guys like the video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Maybe give me a recommendation for like another genre you would like me to do, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.